Okay, we're officially live. Give it a few moments for people to come into the stream from the socials. Okay, regular session is going to end in 2 seconds. 1, 2, over. All right, there's the closing bell. How's everyone doing? Swinging Bull here with PB Alerts. Hope everyone's having a good week so far. It's Wednesday. 2 more trading days left. Next week is Christmas. Wednesday of next week, Christmas Eve, is a half day. Of course, the markets are closed on Thursday for Christmas. But we got Micron Technology, ticker symbol MU, reporting earnings. We also got MillerKnoll, which is ticker symbol MLKN, reporting earnings. See, the more popular one is going to be MU. So let's take a look at MU real quick. See what's going on here. So MU is supposed to report right now, 4 p.m. Eastern. So the data is probably going to be out any second now. And their forecast EPS is $3.89. Forecast revenue $12.5 billion. So we'll see what they come in at, or how the stock price reacts to their earnings data. They're anchored VWAP just above 200. They're trading a little bit above that. But just looking at the market, there's MU. Let's just give this a second. It's up 5%, but let's make sure this holds. So far, it's positive reaction. So Earnings Whispers was right. It's right at 4 o'clock. So let's give it a moment. So far, so good for the MU bulls. Let me see if I got the data. And let's take a look. Micron Technologies, ticker symbol MU. All right, I got the EPS and revenue year over year, quarter over quarter numbers. It looks good. It looks bright green. It's looking good so far. We keep the price on the left here. There we go. It's trading just over 237 in after hours. All right, so the EPS came in at $4.78. So that's a solid double-digit beat there on EPS. They beat by 21% on that. Revenue expectation was $12.8 billion. They just reported $13.6 billion. So double beat for Micron. Year over year numbers, bright green. EPS up 167% year over year. That's wow. That's amazing. Revenue's up 57% year over year. They crushed those year over year numbers. Even on a shorter term looking view, the EPS and revenue, double digit growth quarter over quarter. So short term view and long term view looking great. Lots of growth there. It's looking like a grats to the MU bulls. Let me see what else I can find on this. Any guidance or specific revenue line items that are important. I'm going to post the sales revenue and EPS numbers on the bottom of my screen. MU crushed these earnings. Great job. Congrats to the MU bulls. Let me post this in the comments here. We post it in Discord too. All right, there's the MU. So they absolutely crushed their earnings. Put that data on the bottom of my screen. A couple other things to note is the guidance. The estimate for the guidance, $14.2 billion. They increased it to $18.7 billion. They increased the guidance by $4.5 billion. That's an amazing increase in guidance here. Investors are loving this. The guidance for the EPS, the estimate was $4.49. they raised it to $8.42. So double beat on MU. Also something to note, their operating income, the estimate on that was 5.4 billion. And it came in at 6.4 billion. So they beat operating income by $1 billion. They absolutely crushed this earnings. It's catching a bit of a bid here. It's up almost $14 a share in after hours. Micron closed the regular session at $225.72. Now it's trading just below 240. Amazing beat, amazing earnings data. Double beat for EPS and revenue, and they beat operating income, and they increased guidance. So just a great recipe for the bulls here. Amazing. Let me see what else I can find. Okay, we went over EPS already. We went over revenue already. We went over operating income already. We went over the guidance already. Let's find out. Let me see, cash flow from operations. That's okay. So cash flow from operations, the estimate was 5.9 billion, and they reported 8.4 billion. So another solid beat. So cash flow from operations, solid beat. EPS, solid beat. Revenue, solid beat. Operating income, solid beat. Wow. Let's look at the bigger time frame and see where there might be some resistance on this thing. Wow, look at these fibs from a long time ago, way down here. That's funny. We get rid of that for now. So obviously this is the daily chart. This blue line up here is the post-market price action. Down here is where it closed the regular session, 225.72, trading just below 240 right now. So, you know, it's pretty obvious where, let me put the volume profile on here real quick. I just want to see some volume levels. There we go. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty obvious right here. They're kind of at where a level of interest was, right around, right below 240. That's where it's at right now. All-time high, 264.75. That's obviously almost 30 points from where it's at now. So, but yeah, I mean, they crushed earnings. Beautiful. And they're making a solid move in after hours right now. Look at this. So about to hit 240. I'd say, you know, 240, probably a level of interest there. Nice even number as well. You can also see all these top wicks here on these candles. Some selling going on when it gets up to there around 240. Nice clean break at 240. I'd probably be looking at 250 and then a run to all-time high. Okay, there's some more buying coming in here. Wow, congrats to the MU bulls. Let me find out when they're going to do their earnings web call. And also I want to post the rest of the data that I found, and hopefully I can fit it on, might not be able to fit it on one post, but I'm going to put the guidance in there. There we go. I'll just post it in the comments so everyone can see the guide. Okay. So that's the guidance information I just posted there. I'll keep the EPS and revenue on the bottom of my screen in case anyone joining the stream late want to just quickly see if they beat or not. But again, just a summary, they beat EPS forecast, they beat revenue, they beat operating income estimates, they beat cash flow from operations estimates, and they increased guidance for sales revenue and EPS. So just solid all around. And look, looks like they're holding above 240 now. So they're at 242 here now in after hours. I'm gonna put a few levels on my daily chart real quick. I just want to see, yeah, around there's another level here around 255. Just gonna make these white. We'll be looking for the 255, but I think 250, then 255. 250 is the top of this red candle right here. Put that there. All right, so let's see if it can come up to these levels, but it's trading at around 240 right now. If it did get a negative reaction, I'd be looking around 220 for support, but I guess I'll put a line there just, you know, around 221 actually. 221 and some change, but it's kind of low range right there. But most important, right here around the mid 230s, you can see all that volume that came in right there. It's a lot of volume that came in right around 235 to 237, kind of like a $2 range. That's probably where I'm going to put short-term support right there. Probably just call it 230, 235 around there. So that's my support level number one on the bigger time frames. But resistance levels, levels of interest for MU, if the buying pressure continues, 250, then 255, and then of course all-time high. That's what I'm looking at. Let me go back to 1 minute chart here. All right, probably draw a fib on this. Let me do this here. Just want to measure where the some of these levels are. Okay. So let me change this color to I'll change it to red because it's going to be support for now. 235 almost lines up with the fib pretty good, but that's a bigger time frame level anyway, so that's okay if it doesn't line up with the short-term fib level. We got around 238. This is like just post-market price action support level, short-term, 238, 235, S1 and S2. R1 or resistance right below 243. That's the levels I'd be watching. Let me find out. Not really much going on with MLKN. When are they supposed to report? Let me see. 405. Yeah, their data should be out, but they're not moving at all. I mean, they're green. It's just real sloppy. There's a big gap in between this candle. Does Webull look the same? Yeah, Webull got the same thing. Look at that. What's their volume they had today? 1.75 million. Average volume over 3 months, 800,000. So yeah, they had a little more than double the average volume. Order book looks kind of funky. It's green in after hours, but it's stacked on the sell side. So there's a sell side imbalance, but it's kind of ugly gap up here on the 5 minute chart. Kind of weird price action. Nonetheless, it's green. I mean, it was up 5% today. Had a nice little run. And then up 4% in after hours. So I haven't really ever traded this stock, MLKN. Do they even got options? Yeah, they got options. They got monthly options, looks like. Not really a lot of open interest and volume. Let me check January. Yeah, option chain is kind of dried out. There's nothing really going on there. I mean, there's a few traders in participating. This $20 call had 117 volume today for the January expiration. Interesting. Spread's kind of wide. Bids at 25. Ask is at 40. Last sale was 35. Yeah, it's still kind of a weak option chain if you ask me. This probably be one that I just trade shares on or something. Probably wouldn't write any contracts on this because such low open interest and volume. It's going to be liquidity issues if you sell to open options and write contracts on this. You know, there might be a situation where you want to get out of it, whether you want to take early profit, or maybe you just want to bail on the position because your opinion of the underlying changes. You know, if you're trading on a stock that, you know, options on a stock that has low liquidity, basically low open interest and volume, sometimes it can be tough to get out of those option contracts because there might not be, you know, any buyers or sellers on them. So be careful trading options with low liquidity. You might run into issues trying to get out of those things early. All right, but let's go back over to Micron. I know that's why most people are here. Obviously, semiconductor company. They provide memory and storage solutions. Big semi company. There's a reason they're trading up here in the 200s. Their PE ratio going into the earnings, 29.74. Trailing 12-month number. EPS 7.59. They do pay a tiny dividend, 0.2%. Wonder why they even do that. I mean, probably just to say they pay a dividend, I guess, but that's a drop in the bucket on a $225 stock. So I guess it's better than nothing. 1.12 billion float. Of course, this company, go income. Oh yeah, look at this. Look at this. The positive net income just trending up quarter over quarter. Kind of plateaued a little bit during these quarters, but wow. This is so just so everyone knows, they were reporting Q1. Yeah, someone asked me the other day, hey, how are they reporting Q1? We're still in Q4. It's because some companies go off of a different calendar year. Not every company's fiscal year starts in January. That's why it's kind of off sometimes. But look at the year-over-year numbers on Micron. Wow, that's a beautiful sight to see there. They're just crushing it year after year. This is year over year for the quarterly reports. Balance sheet, only 34% debt to asset. That's amazing. Pretty low debt compared to how many assets they got is basically what that means. Look at this. As of August 28th, they had $10.3 billion in cash and equivalents. Huge cash and equivalent position. Property, plant, and equipment, $47 billion. It's obviously all their warehouses and facilities. That's like hard assets, $47 billion. Wow. Very, very healthy company. And investors are buying more or buying some for the first time based on the earnings. This looks good for the MU Bulls. Congratulations. If you had a call options and maybe you did like a earnings lotto trade through this earnings, I mean, if you were even somewhat close to the money, those things are going to be in the money tomorrow. And if you bought them in the money when you bought them, you're going to benefit from a really high delta compared to the other strikes. You should be waking up, if this holds up around 240s or higher, you're going to be waking up with a nice early Christmas present. So congrats to the MU Bulls. Very positive reaction going on here. Ninja says you have the 250 call. This is Ninja on Discord. Yeah, we can take a look at that. What was the expiration date? We can look at some of the Greeks. We can maybe get a rough estimate of how that will perform if it holds up here. I'm assuming maybe, okay, yeah, okay, so you did Friday. Yeah, I mean, if you're trading the earnings and it's a lotto, you don't necessarily have to put a ton of time on it because you're just trading the catalyst, right? Couple things to note is there is going to be some IV crush involved. Implied volatility on these calls is close to 150%. That'll probably come down quite a bit. So that's where you look at the value of the Vega, and every 1% change in implied vol will affect the value of the contract. So you can kind of figure that out. But just looking at the delta, you had the 250 call, so we're down here. Yeah, you had a delta of 38 on the 250 call there, Ninja. I always say if you're going to trade naked options, try and get at least a 30 delta or higher. Of course, in the money is going to be your best bet. Kind of the higher the delta, especially the deltas in the 90s. I mean, you're kind of simulating shares without having to buy 100 shares. You can just buy one contract that represents 100 shares for a lot less than the cost for buying 100 shares, right? That's why we trade options for leverage. But yeah, I mean, the 250, you still got a almost a 38 delta on that, Ninja. So yeah, that should pay well. What was the gamma at? Okay, the gamma was just 0.015. Not much gamma on that, but So you can kind of figure it out. For every $1 move on the underlying, the contract, will appreciate according to the delta by 0.37. So it's up 14 bucks a share right now. So 14, and it'll be more than this, because the closer that the call option gets to the money, if it's out of the money to begin with and it gets closer to the money, the delta will go up. So you'll see probably more value than what I'm showing you here. I'm just basing it off of what the delta was at the market close, based on where the 250 strike was positioned, to how close it was to at the money, right? So 14 times 0.38. So that's 5.32 gain on the and that's assuming it holds around 240. That's a 5.32 gain on the value of the contract. Looks like they were selling for about 240 to 250 when the market closed, right before the market closed. Now you also have to consider the theta, okay? The theta on this contract for the 250 strike for Friday is negative 2.7. Theta is always going to be negative because it's time decay. So, basically that means the value the contract's going to lose for every day that you hold it. So you got to take that in consideration. If you bought it right before close today and you hold it all the way to tomorrow right before close, you're going to lose 2.71 of value, which basically eats up what it was going for at close. But with a solid move from 225 to 240, your delta and gamma is going to add a ton of value to the contract, which will basically compensate for the minus 2.7 you could lose on it if you hold it for a whole day. Does that make sense, Ninja? And I know these options, close to the money are kind of expensive, but you really want to try and get a higher delta if you can when we're doing like and another thing, if you want the reason why you would put more than 2 days of time on this thing is so the theta doesn't hurt you as bad. Because see, the theta for Friday's expiration on this 250 strike was 2.71, and it's 2.63 now. But you'll notice if you go out, like say a month, look at how much less the theta is on the 250. The theta is only 0.30, right? Yeah, Ninja. In the money's better because you're going to get such a higher delta. And then also the theta is not as bad. But look at the theta on this January cycle. The in the money calls, the theta is a lot less than the ones, it's when you get closer to the money, that's where the theta is the highest. But in the money, you can just look in the money that you do get a little break on the theta. All right. But the main thing is going to be the delta. And so yeah, going 30 days out, you can save a lot of value of the contract because the theta is not too bad. You're not going to really get hurt on that much compared to the one for this Friday where the theta is like 2.7 area, which is that basically gobbles up the whole value of the contract that you paid for. So you're gonna need a big move if you're out of the money, to basically compensate for the hit you're going to take on the theta and also the hit you're going to take on the implied volatility, as we call it, IV crush. All right, so just I know everything's good in hindsight, but moving forward, if your portfolio can accommodate it, trade your portfolio accordingly with allocation and stuff, but you definitely want to try and get the higher delta. That way it helps combat the theta in a much better way if you do get the big move that you're looking for. So I hope that maybe clarifies a little bit about trading naked options through the earnings, and maybe some of the things I said maybe gave you some tips for moving forward. But let's go back to MU here. Already had the lines plotted out. Oh yeah, I wanted to find out when they're going to do their call. It's almost 4:30. Give me a sec here. So yeah, and again, just to clarify, Ninja on Discord, if you have a shorter expiration date, like you're gonna do a lotto play for the earnings catalyst, and you pick the weekly. It's not a lot of time on it. You want to try and be more closer to the money or in the money. If you pick an expiration date that's farther out, where you're not really battling theta as much, you could probably get away with picking something further out the money. So I hope that makes sense and helps you a little bit moving forward. But let me find out when they're going to do their call, because I know everyone probably wants to know that. And then I'll get the link that'll show everyone how to get there if you want to watch it. It's probably going to be at 4:30 or 5 is what I'm thinking. Look at these fib levels holding up pretty good right here. It's a 38% retrace, right around 236 a share. It's kind of where I had my bigger time frame red line on the daily chart. That was like, it was like 235 to 236. That kind of lines up with this shorter term fib level. And looks like there's some buying coming in right above that level. So that's good. Let's take a look. I'm just going to put this, let me fix that. Hold on. Okay. All right. This is the investor relations page for Micron. I'm going to post this in the comments. I'll put it on the bottom of my screen. You can screenshot that. That's the link that'll take you to their earnings web call. And we're going to find out when that is right now. So if you want to take a deeper dive into their earnings, go to that link I just put on the bottom of my screen. You can just you can go to quarterly results here if you want. Got the presentation and the press release. I usually just click here on the latest news, and you'll get the press release here, and then also it comes in a PDF format, and it looks like it's 6 pages long. Okay, so it's not really a big document. So let's see here, and yeah, Ninja, when they do the earnings call and start talking about the guidance in more detail, absolutely it could make another leg up. And the data, their earnings data was positive all the way around. Everything that I saw looked great. It's just the growth with this company is astronomical. Year over year numbers are amazing. And their operating income, it's flying. Cash flow from operations was a lot more than the estimates. I mean, you can go through this on your own time, but 6-page PDF document. You can look at all kinds of things like the line items for revenue, cost of goods sold, gross margin, research and development, all that fun stuff, interest income, net income. So anyways, that link on the bottom of my screen, that's how you're going to get this PDF document. You can dig through it, especially if you're a long-term MU investor. You're probably going to want to go through this 6-page document, get caught up on the data with them. Here's some commentary from the higher ups. Just sometimes they release a few statements before they do the actual earnings web call. Let's see. So this is Sanjay Mehrotra. I think I pronounced that right. Is the chairman, president, and CEO. And they say in fiscal Q1, Micron delivered record revenue and significant margin expansion at the company. So the quarter they just reported for is technically their fiscal year Q1. That's what I was saying earlier. Some companies' fiscal years don't start in January, and that's why it doesn't align with the calendar year sometimes. But in fiscal Q1, Micron delivered record revenue and significant margin expansion at the company level, and also in each of our business units. Our Q2 outlook, which would be their next fiscal quarter, our Q2 outlook reflects substantial records across revenue, gross margin, EPS, and free cash flow. And we anticipate our business performance to continue strengthening through fiscal 2026. Micron's technology leadership, differentiated product portfolio, and strong operational execution position us as an essential AI enabler. And we are investing to support our customers' growing need for memory and storage. And then they just kind of summarize some of the other data that they have. Okay, the investors web call right here. 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time. All right. And that's going to be 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So their call is starting in 1 minute. Again, I'm not going to actually stream their earnings web call, but if you want to watch it, it's literally just started just now. It's 4:30 now. That link on the bottom of my screen will get you right to it. And I'll go back to their homepage here. Let me just go back and let's go down here. Events and presentation right here. Okay, right on that home screen of that link I gave you. Just scroll down a little bit to where it says events and presentations, and then boom, right here. You're gonna click on that, and then it'll get you to the call. All right. So at 4:30 p.m. they're gonna do the actual financial call. Okay, and that's 4:30 p.m. Eastern, which is right now. They also have a post-earnings analyst call at 6 p.m. Eastern. All right. So this 4:31, this is going on right now, and probably just have to accept some things and then link right here. Click for webcast. That's how you're going to get to it. Look, there's a little bit of buying coming in right now. So as this earnings call, the actual web call is progressing, depending on some of the things the higher ups say, there could be some more price action. So a little bit more volatile price action possibly. We'll see. There's just nothing going on with MLKN. So I'm probably not going to go over that too much. And I'll see if, what the data is. Let me just take a look real quick. All right. So their earnings results not as bad as feared. They had a rebound in the retail division. And so they did double beat. However, their year over year and quarter over quarter numbers don't look too good, but they did double beat. So just quickly on MLKN, their expected or the forecast for the EPS was 40 cents. They reported 43 cents, so they beat that by a little bit. The forecast revenue was 941 million, and they reported 955 million. So double beat, but the year over year numbers were red. There's no growth there. And the quarter over quarter numbers were also down. But it doesn't seem to be phasing investors. I don't know if maybe it's just trading on low volume. The price action looks pretty sloppy. There's gaps on the 5-minute chart. That's obvious indication it's trading on low volume. So I'm not, quite sure if this positive, ugly move it's having right now is going to hold. We just don't know because there's not a lot of volume. So just be careful with that one. They did double beat, but there was no growth whatsoever year over year or quarter over quarter. So just something to keep in mind there. I wouldn't put a lot of weight on this positive move, but it is positive. So, it is what it is. MU, back to MU, it's getting choppy. It's kind of bouncing around like a ping pong right between these two levels. It's going to be 236 to 238 around there. So right now it's just trading in a range. Investors are obviously listening to the earnings call that's going on right now. Again, that's the link on the bottom of my screen. So we'll see if it does end up making a secondary move as that earnings call progresses. Also wanted to let everyone know we are doing a $50 gift card giveaway. I believe it's an Amazon gift card. So I wanted to post that link for everyone in the comments. It's free to enter. You don't have to do anything. All you got to do is enter. I'll post the entry form for everybody. And hey, if you win, boom, it's free $50. Who doesn't like that? So just kind of like a little holiday gift that we're going to give out in the Discord. So, well, actually, you don't even have to be in the Discord to win. That's the beauty. So let me get the link for everyone. Just give me 1 second. And just got to scroll up a little bit more through all these comments. Okay, here we go. All right, so let me post this link. I'll put it on the bottom of my screen. And actually, let me open up a notepad just real quick because I want to type in $50 giveaway for the holidays, right? Who doesn't like winning free money? I know I do. And it's free to enter, okay? All right, let me stop messing around over here and get this link posted. Okay, there's the link. It's real easy to get to. We're giving away $50, free to enter. Who knows? You might win. It'd be extra $50. And it's basically pbalerts.com/giveaway. That's how you're going to get there. And look at Micron, just the bottom just fell out of this fib level here. Next level down, 232. Maybe look for a bounce there. I don't know if the higher ups must have said something during the earnings call that they didn't like. But maybe it'll be short-lived because, like I said, as a whole, their earnings were great. They beat EPS, they beat revenue, and they raised guidance, and they beat operating income estimates, and they beat operating cash flow from operations estimates. So maybe this little selling right here will be short-lived, but there is selling coming out right now as I'm talking. 232 just got breached, no problem. Next level down, 229. That's where the price was before it kind of pumped a little bit. Actually, yeah. Well, no, that's 229. Next level down was around 225. That's where they closed the regular session at. So let's just, sometimes maybe they didn't say anything bad. Sometimes the price gets, market makers push the price down for liquidity. Market makers and institutions and hedge funds, they can't trade the way we do, where we can click a button and get in there, based on the fair market value. Market makers, they got huge orders, and sometimes there's not enough orders on the bid or the ask for them to get filled at that price. So sometimes they got to push the price down to get liquidity, and sometimes that's just what it is. So a lot of times when they're selling, it's not necessarily anything, I'm not saying all the time, but sometimes when they're selling, it's not necessarily anything the company did bad. But if a market maker needs to get filled, on like millions of dollars worth of asset, sometimes they need to push the price in a certain direction where they think all the orders are. So don't get freaked out all the time when they're selling. But yes, absolutely a red flag when you see selling and you're a bull. But a lot of times it's nothing that the underlying company did bad. It's just a liquidity grab. So keep that in mind. So anyways, got the link on my screen. Don't forget to enter the $50 giveaway. Free to enter. Anybody can enter. Tell your coworkers and friends and family they can enter as well. You don't need to be part of any special group to enter this. We're just giving it away to anybody. The winner could be anybody. You don't have to be a member of the group or anything. And also, just to kind of wrap the stream up here, we got Micron's reaction. It's positive. It started retracing a little bit. It kind of bounced right where this golden fib is. I mean, I know it got breached a little bit with these wicks here, but it popped up pretty quickly. We'll see. 232 is where the golden fib's at. We'll see if that, what the price does around that level. If 232 don't hold, 229 would be nice to hold, because if that don't hold, it's going to fade this whole move it just had. So obviously the bulls, we don't want that. But keep your eye on 232. We get a nice bounce there, and it starts printing higher lows. Very easily could go back up to after hours high, possibly. So just keep your eye on it. So anyways, I know I sound like a broken record, but enter the $50 giveaway. It's free money. Also, if you're looking for 4 high probability trade setups delivered to your inbox every morning at 9 a.m. Before the market opens, check that first link in the description. That's another thing that's free, doesn't cost anything. And we've been getting great feedback about those watch lists every morning. Those trade setups we send out. But yeah, other than that, my name's The Swinging Bull with PB Alerts. I hope everyone enjoyed the stream. I hope everyone has a great night. And until next time, I'll see everyone in the next video. Cheers.